On a hot July night in Taipei, two masked men stood in front of an ATM. They had no card, no weapon. And then, something happened that left everyone watching in shock. The ATM began spitting out cash, by itself, as if the machine had hit a jackpot. And this wasn't just one ATM. Across the city, dozens of ATMs were suddenly spewing out money. This was no petty theft. It was a carefully planned cyber heist. And the mastermind wasn't even in Taiwan. He was sitting somewhere in another corner of the world. Invisible. July 10th, 2016. At multiple branches of Taipei's first bank, an unbelievable scene was unfolding. 20 people, mostly foreigners, stood at different ATMs. Wearing hats and masks, they waited as the machines poured out endless streams of cash. From one ATM alone, 2 million Taiwan dollars, about 65,000 USD, came out. From another, even more. And in every single case, one thing was common: no physical tampering, no cards, no PIN codes. The machines looked perfectly safe. The Taiwanese police were baffled. How was this even possible? The syndicate. Soon, investigators discovered the truth. Behind the heist was a cybercrime syndicate known as Carbonac. The name came from their malware, a mix of two earlier codes, Carburp and Anunak. Starting in 2013, they began by targeting small banks in Russia, but slowly their empire spread across the globe. Between 2014 and 2016, they attacked over 100 banks in more than 30 countries. Estimated thefts? Around $1 billion. This wasn't just a group of random hackers. It was a corporate-style criminal organization, with a CEO like Mastermind, an IT department of coders, and field agents who physically collected the stolen cash. The attack method. Carbonac's attacks were sophisticated, but they always depended on one simple human weakness. It all began with a phishing email. Bank employees would receive an innocent-looking Word file, or PDF. The moment they opened it, malware silently infected their computer. From there, the hackers waited. For months, they stayed hidden, watching how the bank's employees worked, when administrators logged in, which servers handled transactions. And then, when the time was right, they struck, sending remote commands to ATMs, forcing them to dispense cash, transferring millions into their own accounts, deleting transaction records, even altering account balances, turning $100 into $10,000. In Taiwan, when ATMs suddenly began pouring out money, First Bank immediately shut down its systems. But by then, 70 million Taiwan dollars, nearly 2 million US dollars, were already gone. A special task force of 500 officers was formed. CCTV footage was reviewed, and soon, police realized that most suspects appeared to be Russian or Eastern European. Tracking hotels, investigators found sports bags filled with cash. In one bizarre twist, an elderly man even carried home a bag of stolen cash, thinking it was a gift from God. Finally, police arrested 3 men and recovered 90% of the money. But the real mastermind, the one remotely controlling the system, was still out there. When investigators pieced together the bigger picture, one name kept appearing: Denis K., a Ukrainian hacker and the leader of Carbonac. At first, his true identity was a mystery. European cybercrime agencies called him the Ghost, because his digital footprints were nearly impossible to trace. Dennis was an ordinary IT graduate, a brilliant programmer who found regular jobs boring. But in Ukraine's weak economy, making money was hard. That frustration led him into the dark web. There, he met people already involved in credit card fraud and phishing, and slowly, Dennis realized, With his skills and their network, they could shake the global banking industry. By 2010, he had formed his first small group. At first, they ran phishing scams and sold Trojans, but in 2013, when Dennis modified the Carburp and Anunnaki malware into a new weapon, Carbonac was born. Dennis never touched cash himself. For that, he had field agents, criminals from Eastern Europe who withdrew money from ATMs. His core team did only one thing: hack systems and trigger jackpotting. Their method looked like a business model: fake CVS and invoices sent to bank employees. Once inside, they mapped the entire system for months before attacking. A recruitment network to withdraw and launder cash. It looked exactly like a corporation, only completely illegal. With the money, Dennis transformed his life. In Alicante, Spain, he bought a luxury sea-facing villa with a pool and private security. He owned multiple luxury cars, BMWs, Range Rovers, even a Lamborghini. Investigators later found 15,000 bitcoins in his wallets, worth $160 million at the time. To his neighbors, he seemed like a normal businessman. He hosted fancy parties, wore expensive suits, and kept a low profile. But in reality, he was a digital mafia boss. After 2015, Interpol and Europol began tracing Carbonac. But with different attack methods in different countries, police were confused. How could one gang be behind everything? After the Taiwan case, Spanish police received a tip. The mastermind was living in Spain. By 2018, surveillance was set up on a gated community in Alicante. One man drew their attention, a man who spent nights on high-speed servers, always online. One day, when Dennis drove out in his luxury SUV, police finally moved in. At his villa, they seized laptops with custom malware, hard drives full of stolen data, cryptocurrency wallets, and stacks of cash. The Spanish authorities called him the most dangerous cybercriminal we have ever caught. Experts describe Dennis as a narcissistic mastermind. He was addicted to power and control. For him, pressing a button and watching ATMs spit out money wasn't just theft. It was proof he could outsmart the most secure financial systems in the world. A forensic psychologist put it this way: for Dennis, hacking wasn't about money. It was about proving he could beat the system and stay untouchable. Dennis's arrest sent shockwaves across the world. The Financial Times called him the man who stole $1 billion with a keyboard. But experts warn, his arrest closed only one chapter. The Carbonac code is still out there on the dark web, and new hacker groups are modifying it to launch fresh attacks. In a way, Dennis became a trendsetter. He showed that an organized cybercrime syndicate could be more powerful than any mafia. Carbonac forced banks to rethink security. Firewalls, intrusion detection, cybersecurity training, all strengthened after their attacks. But even today, experts admit, the same kind of attack is still possible. Because Carbonac's legacy is simple. With just a laptop and a phishing email, the world's largest banks can collapse. The raining cash from Taipei's ATMs in 2016 was only the beginning. Carbonac proved that the mafias of the future won't carry guns. They'll write code. And perhaps the biggest lesson is this: the next time you see a suspicious email or an innocent-looking attachment, think twice. You might just be opening the door to the next billion-dollar heist.